Hi guys, my name is Isabella Greene. I think it's time to do a Lightworker update because I am receiving the same messages over and over, and they have categorized themselves into like 3 or 4 of the same messages, and these messages are coming from all kinds of different sources, so I think it's time to summarize that and give it to you. Okay, number 1, the reactivation, the mass reactivation of the Lightworkers. I see that through my work, through interaction with other healers, through stuff that is posted online, through recording of other people's sessions online, through discussions with friends, through just observation, and it's the same stuff all around. And so I am seeing mass reactivation of Lightworkers, the ones who still don't even know who they are, the ones who barely remember who they are. They're all called to action. It's like all troops called to action at this time. And so these people very often on what they think is like an autopilot reach out, and then they tell me and other healers, other awakened ones, they say the same exact thing. Oh, I don't know why, but I had a guidance to work with you, or I had a guidance to take a session. I had such a strong calling of the heart to take a session with you. What can you do for me? I have no idea why I'm reaching out to you, right? And I'm hearing this from 2 different perspectives. It's not only that there is the mass reactivation of the people that's happening, and it's growing. It's been happening for a while, but oh my God, last couple of months it's just so powerful, so intense, so many people that really don't quite know exactly why, but they want to take the work, which means they're seeking awakening. Or they want to deepen their present state, deepen their connection out of, take it outside of 3D, move into a higher dimensional state of being. So that's one perspective. And different perspective of the same thing is from a perspective of the healers and my own self. We are receiving work that we had no idea was available. We had no idea that these people were possibly or could possibly be interested. We had no idea that these people are aware of how these people are finding us, but they are finding us. And this is the message that's coming through for a lot of the ones who are already anchored into their missions, and doing their missions, and doing the healing work, and doing the awakening work here, that the amount of interest for your work, the amount of demand for your work is growing and growing, and is going to keep growing exponentially. So if you're not seeing that at the moment, which I doubt, how is that possible really right now, but if that's happening, or if you're just starting, trust that it's going to happen really fast, because we are in the middle of mass awakening. Trust me, I'm seeing it, it's happening, and this is really, really great news for the planet and for all of us. Another message is that the most effective ones out of the awakened ones, and out of the ones who are the healers, and out of the ones who are already doing the work here, had to go through the most amount of pain. That is really the message all the way across the board from my conversations with the people who are doing the work here. It's really rare that the person just had an easy breezy experience here on earth and then all of a sudden they became a super powerful healer. The most powerful Lightworkers here had to go through a tremendous amount of difficulty, and these are training exercises. We have to stop looking at these things as, oh my God, this was so awful, I'm in so much pain. We have to move out of the victim mentality. We have to understand that the more you went through, in the past, the more effective you're going to be in this lifetime for the people who are just now awakening, because you're going to be able to be compassionate and understand where they're coming from, regardless of what they've been through, because you've been through that already yourself too. And our mission here and our purpose here is to understand that that was the training ground. There was something such as like collecting skills, collecting understanding of what leads to what and why, collecting our abilities to understand and help others and lead others through that, so these similar or same experiences. So nothing really surprises us anymore. We've seen it all. We've been through it all, and we really are here to be those pillars of light, showing that yes, we've been through all kinds of stuff, but here we are. We're strong in embodying and anchoring our own missions, within being sovereign souls, within carrying our own light here and sharing that light for the ripple effect, and offering our services the best we can for the ones who need these services, and a lot of people do. Also, a lot of people are just starting to hear about these things and they're kind of lost. So the beginner level teachers are very important at this time. The beginner level people, or people who are willing to work with the very beginner level, I think this is are going to get a lot of attention now, and going to get a lot of contacts and requests for sessions, because there are so many people who just first opening their eyes, and as they're opening their eyes, they want to know what's going on. They don't understand. They're confused. They, it's rewiring of the entire understanding of life. Of what they know is no longer true, and so it puts people into confused space. So the ones who work with the beginner levels, just the first eye-opening moments, these guys are going to get a lot of work, and the amount of work is going to keep growing. I promise you that. Of course, on the other hand, there are forces on this planet that are very strongly opposed to all this. And well, you know what? We've tipped the scale. There's no such thing as turning this thing around and humanity going back to sleep. But there are a couple of tools that are being actively used right now within or against the Lightworkers and against the awakened ones, and I'm going to share that with you because I've also collected a whole bunch of information and examples about that, and heard about that, and seen that also within our own reality community. And so these are two things to watch out for, because it's not necessarily people's own free will. It very often is something that they are picking up energetically from all around them, because it's being emanated from all around into our fields. What we need to do is stay strong and remember who we are, and be really devoted to our path throughout our entire structure, throughout our entire beingness. So the first thing is turning people against each other. And I've observed that within the last few months, started probably at the end of 2017, and it just came into my awareness, into my observation, how many groups, teams, communities are falling apart or restructuring. How many members of groups, teams, communities unable to get along anymore for whatever reasons. Some reasons are tangible and some reasons are just really meaningless, but there is that brewing conflict or tension or something within groups that seem to be very, very solid and facing in this facing the same direction within their group work. And then all of a sudden this stuff starts happening. and groups are restructuring or coming apart altogether, or there is that whole stuff happening. Also happens within people's individual lives as well. And so it's kind of expanded from the microcosm of the human experience, meaning the human individual lives, into the macrocosms, such as, let's just say, groups and teams and communities. The ones who bring that in and start this kind of stuff are usually not entirely aware of what's working through them. And it kind of ripples out, and it's almost contagious, you know, because for these forces work with unhealed areas within each other. So one who is unhealed, who is not fully awakened and not fully aware, would start something, bring that into a group or a team or a community, and then the ones who are not fully healed or not the ones whose unhealed inner space matches that, they will kind of gravitate to this, and they start expanding and sharing that energy with the rest of the group, and the next thing you know, the whole group, the whole community is you know, going through some sort of crisis, or you know, people coming in, people coming out, people leaving, people turning against each other. And this also is happening on the global scale, but the global scale is very orchestrated, as we can understand. So if this is happening within your community or your group or your team or your circles, or even within your individual lives, I recommend to stop and pull out and really see where your heart is at. Because if that's really distressing your heart, if it's really disturbing your creativity, because it takes tremendous amount of energy to participate in the meaningless waste of energy, right? So if that's disturbing your creativity, if it's making you so uncomfortable that you are becoming incapable to do what you came here to do, pay attention. You know, is this a disempowering tool? Is this something that is potentially artificially inflicted onto a powerful group, a powerful team, a powerful community, to make the community weaker and to disempower the most powerful members in that community, or to have that entire community, let's say maybe they're not entirely healed and so entirely awakened, and so turn them all against that 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 people? Pay attention to what's going on. If it's distressing for your heart, if it's killing your creativity, perhaps it means that realities are splitting and that you need to move on to a different group, a different community, a different space, even solo space, where you can continue with your creativity. Because your creativity, and by creativity I don't mean necessarily arts, although arts and music bring that divine spark and anchor it here too, but by that I mean your work towards the evolution of humanity, your creative contribution towards the evolution of humanity. If the distress within your group circles, I don't know, communities, in personal life, if all of that is literally blocking the flow of your creative energy, it's important to take a look at whether you want to be associated with these groups, circles, communities anymore. Have you outgrown them? Is it that you need some more healing work, perhaps? That's why you're being triggered. And if you've done that healing work and you're no longer being triggered, but you see no progress within that group, team, or community, perhaps it's time to move on and find a community, group, team that really matches you where you're at right now. So all of these things are to be considered at this time, because somehow it seems to be like a global occurrence. I'm hearing from all different kinds of sources about that same thing. So that's another message for Lightworkers. And then the last message for Lightworkers is also about a different tool that seems to be super effective lately, and I have observed a whole bunch of stuff, and it probably is one of the last resorts that the darkness is using to slow down the process of ascension and the process of awakening within humanity, by disempowering the ones who are wobbling. So if you're not fully anchored within your journey, if perhaps you went into the whole spiritual path because it was a way of escaping something, if perhaps you went into a spiritual path and presenting yourself or doing this work, but the motivation is ego-based, these are the ones who are susceptible to that second tool. And the second tool is the carrot in the sky. So I have observed and heard of and just came across the stories and situations with the people who seem to be very awakened and very much on the path until they got what they really wanted, what they were longing for. And in my observation, there are three things that can interfere with a person's continual journey towards ascension and towards full awakening, towards 5D, to the point that there is a reversal taking place. And I didn't even think it was possible once you awaken that you can fall back asleep, but I have been observing some of these things. So if the person went into spiritual work driven by desire for fame or money, also, if the person went into spiritual work out of the space of escaping, or because they felt that they were unloved and unworthy somewhere else, but they had the deep loneliness within them, and the entire time they were doing these things that look and sound spiritual, or talking the talk that looks and sounds spiritual, but the true desire was just to get a partner, or just to get the money, or to get fame. Once these things start becoming, they basically kind of show up in the sky and become a possibility. When that becomes a possibility, I've observed a lot of these people all of a sudden forget all of their spiritual behavior, talk, embodiment of what they preach, and just go right back into the matrix, go right back into chasing that money in the most conventional way, chasing that fame in the most conventional way, pushing people out of the way. And I've also seen, oh my God, the most unlikely cases of the people who were so spiritual or talked so spiritual, but they were lonely. They were deeply lonely within, and that was a deeply unhealed space. And then all of a sudden a super conventional partner comes in, and that whole entire spiritual behavior, talk, practice, lifestyle is out of the window. One of these people I knew personally, and that person told me, yeah, now that I got a partner, I don't mind going back into the matrix. I literally nearly fell over, because it was the last person that I could have possibly imagined would be not only saying that, but be fully conscious of making that choice. And so this is how we'll lose the troops as well. We'll lose the people who are wobbling. So it is important to anchor our past, to really truly embody who we are. For that, it is so important to do emotional processing, emotional healing work. It is so important to work with the ego. It is so important to close that loneliness, that emptiness, to fill that gap inside, because otherwise the carrot in the sky is going to pull you right out of your journey, right back into the matrix, and off you go. And this is how we lose the awakened ones, so we lose the people who potentially could be very effective in assisting the evolution and ascension of this planet. So this is something also to look out for, if something like that is happening in your life, or and it starts really slow, you know, starts from few little things and this and that, and that carrot just is like very tiny, and then it grows, and then all of a sudden the person is blindly just chasing that carrot. And you know what, it's a choice, and it is a very, very it's very, very important to stay awake and aware of what's driving your behavior. What brought you into the spiritual path? Is it escaping? Is it because the ego needs some sort of satisfaction? Is it because you're so lonely that it gives you the space as if you're loved? Are all these things fake and false? Are the motivations for your spiritual path fake and false? We have to really turn around and face ourselves, because it will help us to be strong against the system that is working really hard to pull us back into this sleepwalking space. And I hope none of this is relevant for you. We need to embody, we need ourselves, we need to embody our cosmic origin, we need to embody our missions, our paths, we need to at all times remember who we are. We need to not be dazzled by the offerings of the matrix, and also by the petty, meaningless conflicts that the matrix is trying to plant within our communities, our groups, our environment. We have to at all times ask our hearts, is this what I want? Is this true? Is this in alignment with my purpose? Is this in alignment with my true mission? What is motivating me on my path? Alright guys, I've talked enough today. If you'd like to have a session with me, you can reach me at isabellagreene.com. Please subscribe for more videos every week. I love you. Take care. Namaste.